All right, to break down this Leaf victory and a whole lot more, it's our Director of Scouting, Craig Button. Great to see you, Craig. So the Leafs get a victory against a shorthanded Florida Panthers team, and they look good doing it, and they get a little breathing room on top of the Atlantic Division. My question for you is, how important is it, in your mind, Craig, for Toronto to avoid those two Florida teams in round one of the playoffs?
I think it's critically important because I don't think they match up very well against either of those teams. So if you get through the first round by finishing first, you're going to have to face one of them in the second round, but you don't want to have to face both of them. And when I look at Tampa Bay and Florida, they forecheck really well. They cycle the puck really well. They get the puck into the slot area. Oh, those are areas defensively that the Toronto Maple Leafs really struggle in. They're not very good in those areas. You got experience in Tampa Bay, experience in Florida that know how to wear you down. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, finishing in first place avoids that in the first round. Because I think if they have to face one of those two teams in the first round, I don't like their chances to move on past the first round. So finishing in first place for the Toronto Maple Leafs, from my vantage point, has to be a priority. Because if they don't, I just don't see them getting out of the first round.
Okay, let's talk about one of the Leafs' pending unrestricted free agents, John Tavares. What a story this guy has been, Craig. Another goal on Wednesday night. He's up to 36 goals on the year. Maybe most impressively, 15 goals since the Four Nations face-off for John Tavares. What should John Tavares' next contract look like, Craig?
Well, the first thing is I'm going to negotiate it, and I want 10% of the fee. So let's go, okay? All kidding aside, John Tavares has been the model of consistency for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, he had the 47-goal season early on. But if you look at the 7 years that he's played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, a real consistent, productive player over that period of time. And you look at where he's at, he's showing no signs of falling off from that consistent level. So I'm not going to give him a long-term contract. A 3-year contract, I think I'd be very comfortable with. Maybe you got to give him a 4-year deal. But considering that the cap is going up 95, 105, 113, I think there's lots of room to be able to maneuver John Tavares at this stage of his career and still productive into that. And I think it's $7.5 to $8 million if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. Steve Stamkos signed for $8 million times 4 years. John Tavares is right there. It might be even more than that. I think if John Tavares ends up on the open market, I think that he might be very surprised by the numbers that come in with respect to the offers. And I think there would be a number of offers that would come in for John Tavares. So if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm getting out in front on this, and I want to get him signed. And if you got him at $8 million, even if you got him at $8.5 million for 3 years, even 4 years, I think it would be a bargain. I think John Tavares has that much left at this level of productivity and consistency left in him for the next number of years.
Since he entered the league in 2009, only Steven Stamkos and Alex Ovechkin have more goals than John Tavares. Speaking of Ovechkin, picks up another goal on Wednesday. And Craig, I want to show you this tweet from viewer Gord Parsons. He said, "Hey, Jay, Craig Button predicted the year Ovechkin would break Gretzky's all-time goals record. He even predicted the game this Friday against Chicago. If he is right, can you ask him to let me know the winning Lotto Max number, please?" Craig, do you have the Lotto Max numbers for our guy, Gord?
Listen, if I have the Lotto Max numbers, I'll save it for myself. With all due respect, Gord, I'm not going to share them. I'm going to keep the whole pot for myself.
That's good. I like that, Craig.
Right? Yeah. I'll spread the wealth, so to speak, and share it. You don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, I mean, hey, listen, you watch what Alexander Ovechkin has been able to do over the course of his career. It's been phenomenal. And they're playing the Chicago Blackhawks at home on Friday night. I don't have any doubt that he could get 3 and break the record on that night. I mean, the place will be humming, the place will be bumping, and Alexander Ovechkin has been on a mission. Think about it, Jay. He would have already broken the record by now if he didn't have the injury earlier this season.
Yep.
And when you consider how well he continues to play, how good that Washington Capitals team is, and how bad the Chicago Blackhawks are, why would you bet against Alexander Ovechkin not setting the record in front of a raucous crowd on Friday night in Washington. I'm not betting against them, and I did that a month ago when I picked that date. Yeah, 2019 was a long time ago when I thought he could break it in 24, 25, but he's been as consistent as any player in the history of the game.
There you go. Craig, I also want to get back to what we saw from Jalen Chatfield, the slew foot on Connor McMichael. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is that is a play that doesn't belong in hockey. You want to fight. We've seen fights in hockey. It's stand up. You know, you get wrestled down sometimes and everything. But the way Jalen Chatfield takes Connor McMichael, spins him around and over the leg, it's a UFC move. It's a dangerous play. It's intent to injure. There's no room for that in the game. There's no acceptance for that. I get that the emotions and the intensity picks up at that point in time. But that's an unacceptable play. I think that merits a suspension. I think it has to be suspendable because you don't need that type of play. Connor McMichael is a very fortunate person after that play, not having any type of serious injury, because that could have been significant with respect to injury for Connor McMichael.
Yeah, you saw him rub the back of his head there after he got slammed to the ice. Could have been dangerous for sure. Craig, stick around. Craig's going to be back later in the show. We are going to talk about the phenom from the Medicine Hat Tigers, Gavin McKenna, later in the show.